Welcome back, future moguls, to Just Being Candid. I'm your host, Candid, and today I have another guest. I know I said the last episode I'm gonna chill out on the guest, but I just love people. So today I have Amber, the Flow Coach Forrester, and you have your company, Quartz Wellness Collection. She's a certified life coach. And today I was like, what do I want to talk about? And it was more about transition because I do my research, look at people's bios and websites. I even go down to the Instagrams, and I was like, in my opinion, you did a lot of transitioning throughout your career
Mhm.
that you'll share with us. So I was like, what's going to be the first question, like how to start it? And for me it was like, we the past couple of years since the pandemic, it's been like the great resignation that people like to talk about. And you've worked in corporate America before. So my question for you was, how do you transition from corporate America to saying I'm a bet on myself and go full time? What was that process like? Because people are listening and they want to come to like, how should we become an entrepreneur? So can you tell us about that?
I love it. And yeah, I have definitely transitioned a lot. Hey, Candid. Hey, to your crew, to everybody who's watching. I'm Amber, the Flow Coach. And yes, talking about change, transition, pivoting, you got the right guest for that because I have definitely done a lot of it. So I'm happy to talk about the different phases of that. But I'll say that I always say like, and it's Sunday, right? We're recording on a Sunday. So I just got off my church service and it's funny because they were
Wow.
talking about divine substance and manifestation. And I was thinking about that and like how it applies in my life. And so when I wanted to transition, the thought was just a bit of divine substance. It started out as just a thought, and then I moved on it, and I wrote it down. I started creating affirmations around it. I started feeling out, what does that look like? I started creating a vision of what's next for me, and then I started to lean into it. I think that like I'm the flow coach, and you'll hear a lot of flow in the things that I talk about because I recognize that when I was getting resistance to where I was, that was a sign that it was time to transition. When I started bumping up against a wall, I was like, yeah, no, this ain't it. And so I'm like, okay, how do I keep my energy flowing? How do I keep going and moving and feeling good every day in what I'm doing? What does that look like? And so I started to imagine, I started to think about my passions. I started to think about the things that I loved when I was a kid and my purpose and the things that I'm good at and the things that I bring to the world that the world needs of me. And I was like, what is that? How do I combine all of that? What does that look like? So at the time, I've moved in and out of corporate America and entrepreneurship. It wasn't like I just cut um, corporate America off and I was like, boom, I'm out. I was like, okay, wait a minute. Let me start my business on the side. And so I said that, like I made that statement that I wanted to do that. And I got the most amazing opportunity out of college to work for this company that was serving, it was in the entertainment world and entertainment and spirits. And so in order to do it, I had to have a two-part position. Part of it, I worked and I was corporate and I was an employee. But the other part, I was the local area manager, events manager, and I had to start a
Oh,
company to do that. And so it was such
wow.
like divine order in that I got my first client and was paid with my first client off that because like I had to start the company in order to service that other part of the business. So I've been able to have that my foot in entrepreneurship even since this was straight out of college, even since the beginning of my career. But to someone else, I always say, stick your baby toe in. Like, don't jump in full body. Just stick your toe in. Test the water. Like, oh, do I like this? Okay, and get started with like a side hustle, or get started with a client that you work with, or get started with a little trial and error just to figure out if you like what you're doing, and then start to build.
I love that answer. And you said a lot. And one thing that you said that stuck out to me is, you talked about your affirmations and manifesting the life that you want, but you also said, what are you good at and what do you love to do? And I was having this conversation, honestly, with a random stranger. I'm that because I'm that person. And we was talking about how people say, oh, do what you love, and you'll make money. And people should really be doing what they're good at to make money. because you can love to cook. It doesn't necessarily you want to become a chef. So, and then you was able to find like what you good at, and it became something that you love, or you was able to have it
So it
all
was
flow
both. I feel
together.
like we can do both, right? Like
Right.
we can do what we're good at. Like so, there's a in Japanese culture, there's this concept called the ikigai, and it's how they look at purpose, right? And so the ikigai is this chart, and it's like a Venn diagram. So it's got like the four circles that come together, and then and they overlap, and so it's looking at the overlap and what overlaps, what you love, what you're good at, what you can be paid for, and what the world needs from you. And at the center of all four of those is what they consider your purpose. Right. And so I even do a lot of, now I'm in the space, the Course Wellness Collective, we do a lot of space and a lot of work in personal and professional development. And that starts with us in purpose, because we work with a purpose driven community. And so I do a lot of work in guiding people to identify, to connect with their purpose, or to strengthen their purpose, lean into their purpose. And I think it's so often that we do think like that. It's like, okay, we hear these things, we hear these messages, and we try to internalize them and figure out how they work for us. And so, people will say, do what you love. But if you just do what you love, and it's not what the world needs from you, and it's not something you can get paid for, and it's not something that your skills and experience lend to, then it could take a lot longer to get paid for it. But I do truly, Candace, I'll tell you, I do truly believe in doing what you love. Like, because I feel like you're not going to do anything better, more passionately, more aggressively. You're not going to hustle harder than you will for the thing that you love.
No, I'm in agreement in doing what you love. And if there's a way to find how to do what you're good at as well, hopefully what you're good at is what you love. That's the bonus. Like I love to talk. I've got in trouble for talking since like kindergarten. Like fifth grade, I went the whole year sitting next to my fifth grade teacher's desk.
That's your,
Like
you were
the
that kid,
whole
right? Like
year. And I had to do it twice. So I was like, but my shout out to Miss Rodriguez, she always told me like, if you could figure out how to get paid to talk, because that's all you know how to do. And it took a while, took like 30 years, but I got it. I was like, okay, I get it. But no, that was a
Yeah.
great point. So let's talk about your company. Um, why did you want to focus on wellness and
Mhm.
um, helping Black people, excel in the professional and in the business world, and in wellness as well? Like people throw the word around, like, but why did you make that like your purpose driven type agenda to create a business for it?
Yeah, yeah. So this is my third official business, kind of like my fourth business, because I started a nonprofit too, as a co-founder in between. But as we evolve, as we evolve, our purpose evolves. So my first business was in entertainment and spirits, because I was, at the time I was young. I wanted people to have a good time. At the core of any business that I do is people feeling good, right? And so people feeling good in my 20s. And what can I get paid for? Can I get paid to party and to like throw parties and events and like travel the world? Yes. And that's what I did. When I worked in corporate, I traveled. I worked with Fiji Water. And I had my business on the side still when I worked with Fiji, and I traveled the world, and I'd sponsored these events, and I got paid to party and connect with people and build relationships that would serve me for the rest of my life. Right. So then the next thing, I was like, that was great. That was what I wanted to do. Then at the time when I was working for Fiji, I had a dog, and I would bring my dog everywhere with me. And I was like, wow, like dogs open the world to so much conversation. Like people will talk to your dog before they'll talk to you. Like people that you never thought you would connect with will have a conversation with you because they like your dog. And I was like, this is an interesting phenomena. Like dogs bring people together. I like connection. At the time, there was not a lot of, this was 2008 when I started Cane and Couture, my pet apparel and accessory company. And there was a lot of really boring dog apparel and things. And I loved fashion, and I loved people, and I loved business. And I was like looking for a niche for the white space of like, what is something I can create that doesn't exist or is not yet capitalized off of a nut. And it was like a $54 billion pet industry. And I jumped in at a really good time. So that was that business. I did that for like 7, 8 years or so. And then not the same person that I was when I started it. I started Cane and Couture when I was like 25 years old, maybe, and built it to a lot of success. Very proud of the things that I did. But when I started asking myself, like, does this really matter to me? Like, I was like, I want to help people. I don't want to help dogs anymore. I don't want to. I don't want to. I was honestly, if I can be quite frank, and I don't know who the audience here is, but I'm gonna be real, and just sit in it.
That's what we want, the
I
real.
Yeah, so I was working in this very white industry, and I was a little brown girl, right? And so people would come into my booth at trade shows, and they'd be like, where's the owner? This is great. Who, like, I felt like it was always like this, like, oh, that can't be her company. This like, this can't be her company. And people I was engaging with and I was talking to, and I stopped worrying so much about if they liked me and started thinking if I liked them.
That's a
And I
fact.
was like, I don't know how much I really love the people in this industry. These people care more about dogs than they do about Black people.
That's a
And I
that's
I care about dogs, but I very deeply care about us. I'm from the city of Detroit. I pulled myself up by my bootstraps, if you will. I've manifested a life of my dreams. How do I teach other people how to do that? Because I've created, and thank God, because I didn't do it on my own, but I'm living my testimony. I created this bridge of how you get from where you are to where you want to be. Now, how do I show other people how to do that? How do I show other people how to figure out what they love, what they're passionate about, what they're purposeful about, what they can make money with, what the world needs from them? Like, how do I do that? And so that started to be something that I was really obsessed with, quite frankly. And when people ask me, like, how did you go from pet apparel to professional and personal development and mental health? Because I was always doing it in the background,
mm-hmm.
being someone who can come from the lower middle class hood of Detroit, move to New York, build businesses, get them into Macy's, into stores all over the world. I was in 125 stores all over the world at one point. That was not because I'm lucky. That was not because my parents had money. That was not because of anything but the fact that I was willing to put the work in and I was willing to figure it out. So I read so many personal and professional development books, books on spirituality, went to so many different church services, studied different religions, tried to figure out manifestation, read Esther Hicks, listened to Iyanla, listened to, to
That work.
all of these people. I've always done this work for myself. So it was just quite natural in my next step that I would want to share it with other people. And I'll round it up and I'll just say, in the end, it's like the things, we can look at things that happen by chance, or we can look at them and really recognize that everything happens for a reason. So with Cane and Couture, I had gone on Shark Tank. And after Shark Tank, I started getting calls from schools and from entrepreneurs. Schools wanted me to come speak to their students. Entrepreneurs wanted me to mentor them and coach them. And so my spirit was like, do it. Like, so I just started doing it. I was doing it for free. I was just like, sure, you want me to, like, I loved the way it felt. And so I would start to create these programs, these talks that I was doing, these workshops that I would do. And I was like, this is a business. And I'm like, I don't know exactly how I'm going to get paid for this, but I'm going to figure this out. Like, this is a business. And so I did Quartz Wellness Collective on the side to Cane and Couture in the beginning for the first few years. And then it like a child that you feed, that you nourish, it got strong on its own. And it started to be something that was it. I started getting clients. I started bringing in revenues, and I was able to make it a full functioning business. Then I started being able to hire, and here I am.
Damn, Amber, like
That was a
I'm
long
ready to
answer.
say,
I'm
and
sorry.
that's the show, ladies and gentlemen, because you got me so amped right now. Because
Mhm.
people, so I do coaching, um, for a living, like at my organization, and I come across a lot. Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I hear you real quick.
I
Yeah.
come across a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs that want to start their business. And when you lay out the game plan for them and tell them like the steps they have to get to, they never really thought about the hard work that goes into entrepreneurship. They never thought about like everything you describe. Like you have to self-educate yourself, go to those classes, read those books, go to seminars, perfect your class, figure out how you're gonna put it into a business. And they don't, not all, let me not categorize, not all, but The ones I come across, it's just like, oh, I need to make money, so I'm about to make me some candles. And that's cool too. Whatever your purpose, whatever your intention is to start a business, it's your intentions to start the business. I can't force someone's mindset to change. But once they realize, like, oh, there's so many steps to get to making this candle, they like give up. I had somebody even email me like, oh, I didn't know it's going to be all this. I'll just come back when I'm ready. And to hear like your perseverance and everything that you did behind the scenes before it even took off in front of the public, I really like give you your props for that, because some people would just be like, nah, I don't got time. I'm making a lot of dough with the pet company. Yeah, I love this, but I'll just stick to my books and I'll heal myself and make myself good. But you went with what you love and you went with what your purpose was. And eventually, God allowed you to get paid from it. Like, all right, you put in the work, because faith without works is dead. And you put in that
Mm.
work and He rewarded you for that. So, what you said, I don't know, that just got me amped. I like hearing like, like those stories, just like, yeah, people who get it. One thing that I read in your bio that actually my inquiring mind wants to know, what is applied positive psychology?
Let's talk about it. Okay,
Because
cool.
I was like, what
Ah.
is
So
applied
that's funny that you
psychology?
asked that. This is great timing for that question after what I just talked about, because it makes sense. So I'm doing, like, behind me, you see my bookshelf. This is just one of them in my house.
Yeah, I
I
know
have
you're a
many
book lover.
bookshelves. I'm a book nerd. Like, I'm such a dork. So I was reading all these books, and ultimately, like, books in personal and professional development, spirituality, are, what are we doing it for? We're reading them because we want to thrive, we want to flourish, we want to feel good, we want well-being in our mind, body, and our spirit, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so I came upon this. I've always been interested in psychology. I was going to go back to school, and I was like, what would I go back to school for? So I started doing research in psychology, because I was like, with the coaching and everything that I'm doing, psychology seems like that would be really greatly supportive of me and
Yes.
what I want to do with life, right? And so I came upon positive psychology, and I was like, oh, this is it. Positive psychology is the science of optimal human flourishing. That's how they describe it. There's a few different definitions, but it's the science of thriving, it's the science of well-being, and it ultimately takes a holistic approach to getting people not just to moderately mentally healthy. And that's what psychology does. Psychology has been focused for the 100 and some years of existence, has been focused, or however many years of existence, psychology has been focused, this is a couple hundred, on getting you to moderately mentally healthy, on like, okay, how do we just get past illness and get you okay? And then about 30 some years ago, they started to research, well, great that we can get you to moderately mentally healthy, but how do we get you to thriving? How do you go from like surviving to thriving? And so they dedicated a science to it. And the science, and researchers all over the world, over the last 30 some years, have put together research backed applications and interventions to get people to thrive. So to get people to be physically, occupationally, intellectually, socially, and emotionally healthy. There's seven realms of wellness to be well in every area. Like, how are you, like, not just doing well at work, but doing well in your relationships, not just not just doing well socially, but doing well internally. And so they started to do all of these studies on this, and put together these books and interventions and exercises. And I have like 5 certifications in different areas of positive psychology, from positive psychology in schools. And positive psychology is called positive education. So I do trainings with teachers, but this holistic well-being can be applied in so many different areas. It's like the foundation for being happy and successful, not just being successful.
I love it. I'm learning today. I learned about the Japanese what was that called? Iki.
The Ikigai, Ikigai, if anybody
Learned
wants to
about
look it up.
that. I understand to a degree applied positive psychology. So anybody watching, listening, don't say the show never educated you in anything. Okay? Don't ever say that. So let's go back to the business part, entrepreneurship part, because you started three businesses. You was on Shark Tank. I don't want to. I don't want to discredit like your businesses because I want you to pick one, but not like saying the other two was like least. But out of the three that you started, like one you have presently and the two that you started, which one was the most challenging for you? Where
Mm,
you had those crying days and those I'm done with it. God, why you sent me on this journey? Like, what,
yeah.
what was that business? Or can you say you went through it with all of them? But was there a certain business where you're like, God, come on now?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think they're all challenging. I think I'll say though, the first one wasn't as challenging. The first one kind of got like it was so much of the work I had done before. That's a whole other story I could talk about. The first one wasn't as challenging. I was also in my 20s. There's a lot less at stake. I didn't have kids, husband, like, like I was just like, oh, like
When your
making the
best
money that
life,
I made was like great. I was like, fine, then my lifestyle upgraded, and then I had to like, so the first one there was less pressure on it. The second, Cane and Couture, the dog apparel company, was very challenging because um it's an apparel company, and when you think dog accessories and apparel, it's like, oh, well, how hard can that be? Well, it's as hard as it is for humans because it's the same process. It's just the end consumer is a dog, is a human buying it for their dog. But I still had to do patterns, I still had to do sourcing, I still had to do mood boards, I still had to go to factories in Korea and work with factories in India and China, and I had to do these collections twice a year. And so keeping up with that whole pace of designing, sourcing, designing, marketing, sales, and then doing it over again, that was like a hamster wheel. That really, really, really tired me out. And I didn't have the funding, which so many Black business owners don't really have. I didn't have the funding to sustain a team to do that. And I was doing so much of it myself. I had warehouses that were doing
burnout.
the shipping. Yeah, and I had a salesperson, and I had a small lean team, but it was a lot of work. And after I had kids, I was like, yeah, and I started getting a taste of what was next. It was like, yeah, this is not going to go. But then I'll say that with Quartz Wellness Collective, the really challenging part about that was humbling myself to start over. So we talk about
Mhm.
change, right? And we talk about pivot. So imagine building for almost 10 years, building yourself to success, being on Shark Tank, being one of the only brown girls in the business. I was noticeable. People knew who I was, right? It was not me pushing myself on people anymore. It was more pulling, and they were just coming to me. And I was like, just praying for discernment and like, let me make the right decisions because I have all these opportunities coming my way. And then I decided to start over. That took a lot of courage, right? Because that takes a lot of humbling. Now I have to go to being the person in the room that people don't know. I did stuff like I would go, I got asked to come and speak at, as a mentor, as a part of this mentorship program. And they took the 757 and flew us all over to Australia. And there were these people who had been like, they were way more seasoned than I was. And so usually when I'm in a room, I'm talking, I'm coaching, I'm teaching, I'm telling people. I was just quiet. I humbled myself. I watched, I listened, I learned, I took notes. I asked people. I met a girl, Jatali Bellinton, shout out to Jatali. She had an organization called Kids Who Bank, and she was going into schools and teaching financial literacy. I asked her, could I shadow her? I'll assist you for the day. Can I shadow you and come in and see what you're doing? Taking myself back to that place was challenging, having to build up my network, my mailing list again, switching my messaging over, becoming known for something besides being, oh, that girl with the dog company, oh yeah, that girl that was on Shark Tank. Like, now switching what I'm known for was a lot of it was a lot of challenge. It was a lot of faith. It was a lot of frustration and faith that helped me get over that frustration. Telling myself and knowing that I was doing what was right and what was purpose driven, even though the money wasn't there yet.
Right.
Taking the pay cut, all of that, like that was tough, but
That's
I
definitely
knew it was worth it because it felt good. Mm-hmm.
no, it's good. That's definitely, and that's. I'm glad that you broke down like the difference between the two, because your current business now, Quartz Wellness. I like you said, it was humbling, but it was it a little bit scary too. Oh, okay. I don't know the way you was like it was just humbling. I'm like, well, you weren't scared.
Yeah, yeah, I was scared. Like, how am I gonna make money with wellness, right? So doing what I love, but what does the world need from me? I know the world needs wellness, but will they pay for it? I know we need mental health. I know we need to learn how to direct our thoughts. I know we need to create peace in our lives and harmony in our relationships, but like, who pays for it? Because in our generation, in our culture especially, we are like a get money culture. We are like a get the bag culture. So like people are willing to pay for things that will make them money. This will make you money because it will make you more money when you are better treating, when you're treating yourself better, and when you know what you want and you can go after it, when you're positioned to be resilient and overcome all of the ups and downs of being an entrepreneur or working in a job, like all of that. I 1,000% think that this is wealth that is beyond what's in my bank account, but this has also helped with the bottom line 1,000% because it helps me go harder, whether I was doing this as my business or not. But yeah, that's scary. The pandemic was bad for a lot of people, but honestly, it was good for me because the pain points became more recognized that, oh, I need this. Oh, we need this in schools, social and emotional learning, which is what positive education and mental health well-being looks like in schools. It's called SEL, social emotional learning programs, started to grow and increase during the pandemic. And that's where a lot of my contracts and where my business started to grow significantly.
You just full of gems. like, like, I'm like this because people like I'm glad you thought about like okay, who's the people that need this and hitting on pain points like I just go back to like the people that I coach and the things that they don't think about and hearing you thought about that it's like yes that's how you're supposed to do it who you're selling to can
Right?
make
Your
down
personas.
your stuff yes
Like
some
I do, I create my personas and I talk to them. I know, I understand that you might be 27 years old in an entry level position trying to figure out how to get up the ranks and like trying to figure out what does that take, and you don't have the people around you who can just sponsor you or mentor you, and you're looking for something. Like I have, she is one of my personas. She only makes a certain amount of money per year, so she doesn't have as much discretionary income to be able to do personal and professional development. So I create programs that are affordable for people like her. I build partnerships with organizations that will help sponsor and pay for her. She's Dream. That's actually her name. My personas have names. Dream. I partner with organizations that would pay for Dream to do my workshops, my courses, my curriculum, so that she doesn't have to, but that she can get what she needs to at least start to get her on the track of understanding how she gets from where she is to where she wants to be. So yeah,
I love
yeah.
I love so let's get into it because I'm single right single I was engaged before we I ended it no actually that's a whole nother story about how I ended the engagement
You want to come on my podcast and we could talk about that?
Yeah, definitely. So I don't want to say I'm jaded because after that engagement, I dated another young lady, but yeah, I can call you because that's another story too. She was like in the
We could
closet.
talk about
It was just like a whole
it.
bunch of stuff, and I'm like, I'm compromising myself. But the point
Mm,
is, I'm
mm,
entering, transitioning into becoming a full time entrepreneur. Like I do it part time, public speaking, and I'm like, okay, people are paying me to speak and to teach classes. I need to vamp this up and really take it serious. Not like I wasn't taking it serious, but I was playing with it. I was playing with my gift. I'm not gonna lie. And I was talking to my single friend, and she was like, "When you getting in a relationship?" And I was like, "I don't think I have the energy to focus on my business and put energy into nurturing a relationship because a relationship you have to build is a partnership." So I'm
so
like, I'm
real. Yeah.
selfish. So I wanted to ask you because you're the first married person, not actually the second, but the first married person I'm asking this. How did you transition from being single, successful business, getting money, lifestyle popping, and then you meet someone and then you are going from single to it's not just about you and then you get married and have kids so can you take me through that relationship side of your if you don't mind you don't have to get too much details but like that
Oh,
whole
I'm
I
an
said,
open book, girl. I don't
because
mind at all.
because the point of it is, the reason why I'm asking is, it's not my theory, but to a degree, I feel as if you're just now starting a business and you happen to be single in the process of starting your business, I don't think the person should go into a relationship until the business is where it should be. But some people feel like they can handle both. So, what's your perspective in your with your own situation? How did you transition to single, married, children, family?
That is a good question. So I will say I agree with you to an extent, but I agree with you, and I'm going to say and. Let's do
Okay.
that. Okay. So I agree with you, and yet I still feel that most people don't understand what it takes to be an entrepreneur.
Okay.
So if you, Candid, were to find a woman that understands what it is to be an entrepreneur and is willing to support you through it, then that's the type of person that you date when you're beginning as an entrepreneur. If you are trying to date someone who has a job, who doesn't get it, who doesn't understand the grind, who hasn't done it themselves, they're not going to get it. I actually met my now husband, after I started Cane and Couture, but I started Cane and Couture in 2008. I met him in 2009. He's also a business owner. He
Okay.
helped me tremendously, like figuring out, like from figuring out how to get investors to figuring out my profit and loss statements. He was the CFO of his companies, and so he really helped me with getting my business in order and my finances. And so it was a big help for me as an entrepreneur to be dating another entrepreneur who was further along in their business and who could teach me things.
Mm,
So for me,
I love
in
that.
that situation, it worked. For a lot of people, that's not the case. And if you don't have somebody who's gonna push you, who's gonna tell you when when it seems like you should give up, consider, don't throw the towel in yet, keep going, keep trying. Like if you don't have somebody who's gonna pick you up off the floor and put you in the bed and take the laptop out your hands, if you don't have somebody who's going to understand that you got to go across the country or across the world for a trade show, and you're going to be on your own, and you're going to be mingling and talking to and meeting people, networking with them, your phone is going to be ringing sometimes in the middle of the night, and they're not going to get jealous, then yeah, then that's not your person. That's not your person in the beginning of your relationship. And it's probably not going to be your person later in the relationship either. It really takes a certain type of person to be an entrepreneur. And then it takes a certain type of person to be with an entrepreneur. And we're not for everybody. Like we don't have predictable lives and predictable schedules. We eat what we kill. We have to network and meet people. We can't just be like, oh, babe, you don't want me out talking to people? Well, I won't go meet people. Nah, like that's getting in the way of like your money. Like, no, like, so,
Can I tell you a
so
crazy story? Not to cut you off.
no, tell me. I love a good story.
That part is what you said, like how you broke it down, honestly changed my perspective a little bit of it. Someone
Mm.
I might give dating a try. I say that now. But back in the day, I did before I do what I do now. I was heavy in like the music entertainment industry. So I did like a lot of interviewing like, rappers and singers and go on different parties. And then I do beat battles and stuff like that. And the person I was dating at the time, I'm like, yo, I'm going to, I think it was Susie Wong's. I think that's what it was. It was going, I'm like, I'm going to Susie Wong's. It's an event, blah, blah, blah.
I remember
And she
Susie
actually
Wines.
popped
Yeah.
up.
Hmm.
Like she like popped up at the event and was like, oh, you out here talking to these, like it was so embarrassing. Like,
Oh, she did it in front. Oh
yeah, like
no, yeah, she
was
wasn't
like,
it.
oh,
Mm-mm.
you out, we out. And I was
Uh-uh.
yo, and I was like, yo, this is crazy. Like, this is crazy. Needless to say, we did stay in the relationship for even longer than I intended. But the whole relationship, I was like, I gotta figure out how to get up out of here. Like,
you're like, you're
what
like,
is
get
the
out.
move?
Right?
Yeah, I was
But
like,
imagine if she would have been for the cause and she would have been meeting people and bringing them over to you like, hey, I just met such and such, this exec at such and such music label. I was talking to her over there and I was like, oh, you should hear about Candid and what she's doing. Let me introduce you. And then she brings her over. Now that's the type of person you want in your corner as someone that you're dating when you're
I would
starting a
have probably
business or
been
when you're
married.
entrepreneur.
But you know what? Blessings, because God was like, no, she ain't it.
She
You know,
wasn't it.
Mama
She
even
was
said it
not
too.
it. Yeah.
Mama even said it too. So now you throw kids in the mix.
Yeah.
How do you balance that? And how do you um balance the marriage? Like, because at some time you and your husband have to have quality time and still make sure y'all, but now you have children, you have a boy and a girl. So how do you balance business, making sure the marriage is successful, and then you have two kids that you have to lead to have a good future?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, it looks different every day. I can't say that there's a blanket statement, right? But I'll say that my ultimate answer is always counterbalance. I don't always get to balance in a moment. But when I say counterbalance, I know that when I go really hard over here, that I need to be over here. And I'm never letting any of the pieces fall away. So if I, with work, with my business, if I want to get extraordinary results, I have to do extra work. I can't do ordinary work and get extraordinary results, right? And so to do extraordinary work, I have to put an extraordinary amount of effort in. And so that might look like me staying up until 4:30 in the morning because that's my golden hour, and working like 2 or 3 nights in a row during a week. And then I'm tired because I've done that like 3 nights, but I've gotten so much work done. And like, this is real talk. Like, I literally do this. So then for the next few days, then I'm going to balance by going to sleep earlier, spending more time with my family. So for those 3 days, I might be like, I'm in the office. I got to get this project done. Like, I set my household up intentionally so that I can do that. So I'm not afraid to hire help. I have a nanny, a sitter who's been with us since my son was born, another one who was with us since my daughter was born. We have understanding. I know she's like I have employees for my business. I pay them. She is like my house business. Like, I need someone. I don't, my family doesn't live here. My family and my husband's family live, his family's from Grenada, my family's from Detroit. So we have our family here, dependable family, not just our friends who can watch our kids when they want to, like our
Real
you
blood.
know, who we're like, no, like, you're on the schedule. Okay. So we have that in place. And so, I know that if I'm going hard, my kids can still be at the park. They can still be enjoying or doing a play date or something. But then those next few days or over that weekend, I am going to just love all up on them. I'm about to take them to do something super fun that they've been wanting to do, or I'm going to bring them with me at work. I bring my kids to work sometimes too. Like,
I love
so
that.
I have a client or something I can do. You want to come with mommy? Okay, bet you're coming with me. I let them see what I'm doing as an entrepreneur. And so the short answer to your question is that I remain me,
Okay.
no matter how many layers pile on top of me. When my husband and I met, I've always been social. I've always been an entrepreneur. I've always done a lot of things. I've always balanced a lot of different things, and I still do that. And at no point, I can evolve as a person, but at no point will I give up me for anyone else. Like, I am a put your oxygen mask on first, unapologetically selfish motherfucker
Mhm.
when I need to be,
I
because
get
guess
that.
what? I got to maintain this in order to maintain all of that. So if mommy needs to wait, my kids know if I'm in my meditation chair in the morning with my headphones on, don't tap me. Give me a moment. I'm meditating. Like, my husband and I really have a developed, we're very functional in our household. We've developed a very great amount of respect for what each other needs. When he has to go hard and something's going on, I'm like, okay, what do you need? Like, we ask this question on a regular basis. What do you need? You need time, you need space, you need to travel, you need to go. And we honor and give that to each other because we recognize that that's a part of what helps us keep moving and keep moving forward. So
I love it.
yeah.
You made me look at the positive side of, like, you know what, maybe I should give it a try, find me that entrepreneur girl. And you kind of changed my perspective. We'll see how it goes the rest of the week.
Fill me in. I want to know. I want to know. And we're going to come and talk about it on an upcoming Flow and Flourish
Yes,
Friday and talk
that's
about Candid and her dating world. And like, cause your
I've
challenge is so many people's challenge. You said
yeah,
you what?
no, I said I realized I've dated a lot of wrong people. And listen, let me put
Mm,
this disclaimer out there. I wasn't for the streets. Let me just throw that out there. But I like relationships. I do like relationships. So my longest relationship was like 8 years. then the other one was like a year and a half. So I am a relationship person. It's just me not
8
wanting to.
years. You were married. You just didn't have a
I
ring
was
or
I
get a
was
ring or whatever.
I was engaged. But the thing was, it was saying for your podcast, my mom did not like her,
Mm,
and I just could not see myself committing to someone that my mom does not like. And it wasn't
mhm,
like I don't like it because she made this face. Like my mom had valid reasons to why she didn't like that she felt not didn't like her, but she felt that that's not the best person for her daughter. And my mom being a minister, like her just not to get off a tangent, just her accepting that her daughter is gay, that was like a hurdle. That wasn't a hurdle, but for her to like really like, listen, I don't know about your lifestyle, but as far as who your partner is,
yeah.
she ain't it. And
Mm,
it took something drastic for me to be like, oh yeah, she was right. It's time to go. So one
mm.
day
So she was right.
yeah, so honestly, one day I literally woke up one morning. I was like, looked at her, I'm like, yeah, this is not gonna work. And I went to my friend's house. It's like, could I stay? 2 days later, I went back when she was at home, packed up all my stuff, and then I left.
Mm,
And she was
wow.
like, oh, you really left? I'm like, yeah, I
And
really
that
left.
was the end of 8 years.
I was
Wow. Oh, Candid. Okay. Yeah, we got
it was
we
a
got a
lot.
whole conversation to have. I'm about to
Yeah, it
I
was a
don't we don't want to derail this
yeah,
conversation,
but
but I could ask you so many things. I'm gonna
it
just
was
say
a
this. You
lot.
don't have to answer this, but were you dating by default or by intention? And are you as strategic in your planning for relationships as you are in your planning for businesses?
To
Ooh,
answer
that
the
would be some
first
questions I
question,
would ask you about on my podcast.
without getting into detail, it was by default. It was one of those relationships where it was
Mm,
like, damn, I don't want to like it just I don't care if she watched. It was one of those relationships where the time where I wanted to end it, I felt bad because she didn't have a place to go.
yeah.
So I just made myself be in it, you know. And then it was like we had fun. It wasn't like she was like horrible, but it was like when you realize, oh, this is not who I want with me, but I love her little sisters, and it was like so much other emotional attachments outside of
Yeah.
her that kept me into it. But
Especially
then,
after 8 years.
yeah,
Yeah.
you see kids grow up, you go into graduations and Thanksgiving. But when I say like, my mom only met her one time, and I never introduced her to my family.
Over all that time.
Yeah,
Wow.
only my cousin met her once by default because I had to pick her up, and my ex happened to be in the passenger seat. But I still
Wow.
pulled up, walked out, was like, wait in the car, and I went and go say hi to my family and stuff. And I kept it moving, but I never like introduced her formally to my family. If it happened to me, they happened to meet her, but I never formally did that. And the other one,
Mm,
after 8 years, 5 years of like chilling, got into a relationship. She wound up being in the closet. That's a whole nother situation. And
yeah.
I ended that by not going to Thanksgiving dinner to meet her family.
Ooh, so we got a lot to talk
Yeah.
about,
When
Candid.
I'm
This
one
is
of those
interesting.
people, like once I realize, like, nah, this ain't it,
You're like, nope,
I don't
that's
hesitate,
yeah, yeah, out. Yeah.
or I don't convince myself. I'm like, I was default. But I don't want to keep you. I have two more questions.
Okay.
First is because I'm gonna drop this next week in time.
Okay.
Flow and flourish. You have a retreat coming up in is it upstate New York or
Yeah, yeah. The registration for that one is closed, but I'll say that I do
how
retreats
is
on a
it
yearly
upstate?
basis.
Like
Yeah, yeah.
what's the purpose of it? Like what goes on? So when someone's like, oh, I want to get to that next year, like what we doing upstate?
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Right. And I may do it with them next year. We'll see. I actually have a lot of success with retreats overseas. I took 30 women to Morocco last year. I've taken 50 women to Grenada. I took a smaller group of women to Costa Rica. I love traveling, right? And so to be able to, because here I am, this purpose-driven entrepreneur, I'm gonna do what I love. So I love to travel. So to be able to travel, help people to have new experiences, do things like in Grenada, I had a bunch of women who had never been in the ocean. I don't get my hair wet, swimming and having the best time ever in the ocean. Like being able to do things with people, learn something, meet new people, work on yourself, take the time to recharge is such a beautiful experience that a lot of Black women, especially, don't give ourselves the time to have. We'll go on a trip and we'll go drink and hang and party, but like we come back and we can be more tired than we were when we left. And now we come back to all the stuff that all the problems that we thought we could go and party out, they still exist when we come back. So I like these purpose driven opportunities to go and to get away from all of the hustle bustle of life and to recharge and to refocus and to realign and reestablish what it is that we want in our lives and how we go after it. Get over the things that we need to leave behind, forgive people, um, work on ourselves, heal, all of those things. So that's what, depending on the theme of the retreat, that's what we do. I'll tell you, for like our Flow and Flourish retreats, they take a signature holistic framework that I've developed and that I do. And it's like on the first day we do flow, then we align, then we release, then we leap, and then we flourish. And so for each day, like flow, for example, we start with the first day with purpose work. What is it that flows through your heart that feels good for you, that you want? What do you want more of to flow? What do you want more of to flow into your life, right? And so we do some purpose work and a lot of the things that we talked about before. Aligning is then starting to get strategic. Now, how do you align yourself with those things that you want in your life, in your relationships, in your work, in your mind, in your physical space? How do you align yourself spiritually, physically, emotionally with the things that you desire? Great that you're aligned, but if you don't release that old shit and let it go, then you're carrying around weight and you can't leap forward. So on the third day, we release. I have a Reiki healer that comes, and her name is Greg Morris. Shout out to Greg. She's a master Reiki healer, amazing. She does energetic work. I do the mental work. She does the energetic work. It's all energy though. But we make lists and write down things that we've been afraid to admit. We say them either to ourselves. I give people small spaces where one-on-one, grouping people together to open up and share things that they may not be able to share in their circle where people know them, to get it off their chest. And then we let that shit go. We stomp it, we release it into the air, we burn it on fire, all of that. And now we're ready to leap. So then the next day is focused on leaping. Your big ask, shout out to Lucinda Cross. What is it that you want? What's that thing that helps you leap forward? That one thing that if you do that one thing, it makes other things easier in life, or it makes your dreams start to come true, or it makes that business start. And then the last day, flourish. And that's like a whole plan of just moving forward. How do you take all of what you've learned over the week into life so that you can continue to flourish in these different areas? So it's holistic work. I know that's a lot that I gave you, but it's, yeah. And then we have fun in between. Like, please don't get it
I can
twisted. This is
imagine.
not just all, because we drink wine by the fire. Like I love trap music and gospel music and doing the work. Like we do all the things. So there's like fun in between. We might go out one night, like, because it depends on who my crowd is. I play to my crowd, but we
No,
have a good time.
I love it, and I believe that it's the good times will happen. Because as I'm talking to you, I was like, yeah, she's on that. I can have a drink with her. It's like, because there's certain people
Totally.
you're like, kind of stuff, but it's like, yeah, I can definitely do a couple of shots with her for sure.
Yeah. Oh,
Once
but it
we
has to be
go back
cognac
to the
shots though.
husband.
I don't drink tequila. I'm gonna
Oh,
have you drinking cognac with me. If we doing it, we doing it.
clear as me. Clear as, give me some vodka. Clear as me. Clear as me.
Clear as you. Oh, you're vodka. Okay, you do the vodka shots. I'll do the
Yeah.
cognac
Yes.
shots.
Cognac, I don't do. But I have one more. It's like you might kill me for this. So you're a book lover.
It's,
You're
yeah.
a book lover. I hate doing this to people, but I love it at the same time. 3 books that they can pack up in your casket for you to take to heaven.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Miracle prayer.
Okay, Miracle.
Oh, wait, is did you have another part of the question
No,
or
top 3 books you can take. They don't casket and me up and meeting Jesus with my 3 books.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna take Miracle Prayer. That has been a huge one in my life. It's by Susan Shumsky, and it taught me how to pray. We so often we pray and we beg God, God, please do this, please do that, and we pray or wanting something specific. And so when we do that, we limit ourselves. One, we beg, and that's not the way to get it. We should affirmative prayer. So Miracle Prayer is about affirmative prayer, affirming what we want. And then
Write that down.
praying affirmatively, don't not praying for things that we please don't let this person do this or please don't let this happen. And when you pray affirmatively, you pray for something, not against something, and you claim it. You don't beg for it. Miracle Prayer. My grandmother is like my best friend in life, and she got that book for like 25 people. So it's definitely one of my favorites. So that's one. Two, I would say Untethered Soul. At the time I'm dying, I'd also be untethering, but Untethered Soul is about letting go, right? But like, I mean, but Untethered Soul is a really awesome book. It's about disconnecting from the pain and the fear. So the basic premise of Untethered Soul is that we live a life in fear unless we intentionally live a life of love. So when we if something happens to us when we're something always happens to us when we're kids, we find ways to not have that pain again. So we build our life around our thorns. The things that hurt us, we want to shield ourselves from that instead of removing the thorns. Untethered Soul talks about instead of making our life where no one's going to hurt us, removing the pain internally so that things don't hurt us, not depending on things externally. Super dope book. That, and then it's a book called A Course in Miracles. I would take that one too. A Course in Miracles is way more than what I can even like get into. Yeah, it's a new thought book on spirituality. So all my books that I'm taking to heaven with me are like spiritually based in one way or the other. I'm gonna leave my business ones behind for other people to read.
Or if you take those books coming to heaven, God's gonna be like, all right, throw in VIP.
Look, and I love VIP, so I'm gonna be in there like, yes, God, thank you. I have arrived.
Yeah, throw in VIP over there. See Jesus and Peter and all of them. They got a little communion.
Right, right, right.
In the
Hey,
last,
Moses.
exactly. Right. Exactly. I gotta think of my books wisely now. And so
Yeah, right.
you believe in the righteous and ratchet. You like your pop music. If you had
Yeah.
your ideal concert, it's Amber and friends. It's like, yo, kid,
Don't get me excited, kid. Don't get me excited.
I want you to pull up 3 artists, and I'm be like, yo, so who you have performing at your concert, Amber? Who's the top 3, dead or alive?
Okay.
That's there.
Anybody who knows me. Oh, you said dead or alive. Okay, so
Yeah,
then we have to
it's
start
yours.
with
It's yours.
Tupac. We
Oh,
have to start with Pac. I'm a huge Pac fan. My daughter, this is the okay, ratchet admission. So my daughter's due date was June 13th and 2011. So I was late having her and I had to decide like if I was going to do a C-section. And so it was June 16th. They were asking me this. And I was like, oh, it's Tupac's birthday. And he would have been 40 today.
I was like, I know she's not gonna say anything about Tupac. So you really wait. So you had her on Tupac's birthday?
So I had her on Tupac's birthday. It was a part of the sign that, okay, this is the day. It's Tupac's birthday. He's my favorite rapper.
That
So
is so
he's June 16th, 1971, and she's June 16th, 2011. So,
that
but
is
so Tupac, number one.
Tupac #1. Shout out to your daughter.
Shout out to my daughter. Number two, Big Sean. Anybody who knows me on
Oh,
Instagram,
that's a
I'm a
good one.
huge Big Sean fan. I just went to a Big Sean concert by myself. I like him so much. He was in Detroit. But I love
That's
Big Sean because he combines like he's super clever in his lyrics and his energy, everything that he talks about. He's talking about metaphysics. He reads Ask and It Is Given, Esther Hicks, which is one of the books I would have taken with me if I could have taken 5 or 4. But he reads these spiritual books and he incorporates them in his raps. And if you're up on it, then you know what he's talking about because he has all these subliminals. So he is like my super favorite, like motivational rap. Like I play his music all the time. And then number 3, this is a rap concert.
no, it's your concert.
It's Oh, it's my concert. So
You have a
anybody,
jazz artist if you want. It's
oh
on
my
you.
God. No, I'm so eclectic. I want to throw in like I would say Janae Aiko, but I just went to a Big Sean Janae Aiko, so I got that concert already. So okay, my third person, if it were a rapper,
Because we
would
got two more
probably
Big
be.
Sean.
It might be. This is gonna be unpopular, but
Oh,
it might be Kanye. I love Kanye
Kanye's my
West, man.
guy.
I
Kanye,
love.
reason. Listen, College Dropout is my favorite album of all time, followed by Late Registration for me.
Shut up. Can I?
No,
So
no,
so
which one
quick.
has Late Registration, and then which one has Good Life? Graduation.
Oh, see, I'm not good with that stuff. Okay, yeah, yeah.
Late
I don't. I'm not good
Registration.
with like the chronological order of the albums and all of that. Yeah,
Kanye.
yeah.
I don't care about his shenanigans.
He's so talented. He's so clever. When I was doing on camera work, which I still do some of, but I got Kanye was supposed to be hosting this BET Jordan Capital Classic, and his co-host got arrested, and they needed a new host. And so I got the call, and so I got to actually for a weekend host the Michael Jordan Capital Classic down in DC with Kanye West
What?
when College Dropout first came out. So Through the Wire was just on the radio for the first time. So this was at the beginning of his career. And I've
Wow.
always been inspired. We sat on the bus and he talked my ear off and everybody's like, I'm gonna be the biggest rapper. I'm gonna da 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 da. And he was like, from day one, anyone who's met Kanye will tell you how determined he was. And to watch what he has built to being a net worth of $1 billion and all of the stuff of where he is, I would have him at my concert because it's a part of the testimony and it's a part of what inspires me to keep going and to be so confident in myself, no matter what other people think, because I see how that worked out for him. Now, there was an overconfidence and all that stuff that you can say, but we're
Right.
human and we all go through our stuff, right? But ultimately, I think he's super dope and I love his music. So I love that question. Thank you for asking that. That got me excited.
I will go to that concert. I would definitely Tupac, Big Sean, and Kanye. Hell yeah, we know
Yeah.
Kanye's closing that out.
Yeah.
Big Sean might have to open because we don't know what their relationship is like. Now let me stop, but but no, that was a good one. Mine would be and it changes every guess because I could do that. It will be Chris Brown. Uh, it would be Kanye, of course, and it will be Beyonce.
Oh,
They're the
yes.
but
Always
this
Beyonce. Mm-hmm.
this was one of the best interviews I've ever had.
Aw.
Um,
Aw, we're
and
friends
no
now. Let's
shade
give
to
each
any
other an on-camera hug. I'm hugging you. This was fun.
no shade to any of my other guests. They were all great guests, but as far as the conversation, and they were all good conversations, but just like the range of the topics that we talked about was very, very great. And just knowing you more as a person. Big shout out to Sandy for connecting us all about networking. Really great person for connecting us. Amber,
We
thank
love you,
you for
Sandy.
being on. Any last words for the people listening who's like early stage entrepreneurs or people who's just thinking about transitioning into like a different career, but just any last words for the people?
Yeah, well, one, just thank you for having me on. I love opportunities like this. I love our conversation and just how laid back we can go and flow through it. So this was super, super fun for me too. I really enjoyed this. I my last word will be let's stay connected. I have a online wellness community that it's like wellness, but it's also like fun and connect and great network and great people. It's called the Well Zone. So you can check that out at qwcwellzone.com. You can also get to it through my website, Quartz Wellness Collective, but go to qwcwellzone.com. We have free membership, but tons of entrepreneurs that come in, positive influencers, as I call them, that come in for conversations, and we're building and growing that as well. Oh, thank you for putting that below, qwcwellzone.com. So that, and if there's a school in your school district and you're like, their teachers need some upliftment, their culture needs to be improved, like definitely you can hit me at the Flow Coach on Instagram, go through QWC Well Zone, go through Quartz Wellness Collective, but let me know. I'm trying to get into these schools. I have a goal of getting into Detroit public schools. I'm in New York public schools and growing my program. So if you like this and you want the parents at your school or the teachers at your school or the students to have conversations like this, then that is what my work is dedicated to. And so find me.
I love it.
I'll be
And
waiting for you.
I know I said last question, but you just made me realize something. You're from Detroit. Are you
I'm
a
from the
Pistons fan?
T. Am I a Pistons fan?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I
You are?
can't not like, yeah, well, because when I was there, they were winning all the championships. But I'll say now, I'm not a sports fan. I
Oh,
work
okay.
so much, I don't watch sports, so I can't tell you anything. I can't name one person on the team now.
Okay,
But
so I'm a,
Isaiah Thomas Pistons fan, yes, I was that girl.
okay. I won't hold it. I'm a Lakers fan to the death.
Ah!
Catch, I don't catch every game, but I do have the app on my phone, and you know the history. Detroit broke our heart. It was well deserved, but Detroit broke our heart just like Boston did. But I really thought like, man, Piston bum. I could,
See,
I
that's when I was a fan because we
was,
were out breaking hearts and doing all the things,
yeah,
and I was
I
like,
really like.
yes.
We really didn't have a game plan for how y'all was trapping Kobe, and because we was like, Kobe, he's the guy, he got it, and y'all really bust our bubbles. But I'm glad you're not into sports, so I can't hold that against you. But
No, when we go to the bar and we have our drinks and you have your vodka and I have my cognac, we won't have that debate. We'll be okay.
yeah, we'll be straight. Actually, might be like leading me into like of finding somebody. So like, that
Yeah,
might be
right.
that.
Oh, y'all heard it here first because I am the best wing woman ever. We go into the
Are you?
bar and we're gonna play 50 First Dates with Candid Mac. Boom, you heard it here first.
There we go. I'm into it. I'm into it. I'm into it. So, ladies and gentlemen, all my future moguls out there, have a blessed day. Continue to grind, get what you want. Amber, thank you. I'm about to turn this AC on, get it cranking. If anybody's wondering why I'm sweating, thank you again, Amber.